Millionaire walks into a restaurant, then frozen in shock by his pregnant ex-wife serving tables. The door swung open with a dramatic creak as Hunter Maxfield stepped into the dimly lit eatery, his crisp suit gleaming under the flickering chandeliers. The air buzzed with chatter, but all conversations faded as eyes focused on him, the millionaire everyone knew, or rather, everyone whispered about. He owned half the city, a titan of industry. Yet here he was, striding confidently towards the bar, oblivious of the storm brewing just a few feet away. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open, and a figure emerged, apron tied tight, hair pulled back. There she was, Rachel, his ex-wife. The woman who had once filled his life with laughter now served tables, a baby bump barely hidden beneath the worn fabric of her uniform. Gasps echoed. How had she ended up here? The crowd whispered. Some chuckled nervously, others gawked. Hunter's heart raced, confusion gripping him. He hadn't seen her in years. They hadn't parted on good terms. He froze, a deer in headlights, unable to tear his gaze away. Rachel's expression was a mix of surprise and something deeper, pain? Joy? Maybe both. She glanced up, caught his eye. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. The noise faded, the light dimmed, and all that remained was the weight of the moment. His mouth fell open, a mix of disbelief and regret washing over him like a tidal wave. She was pregnant, and he had no idea. As the seconds ticked, tension crackled in the air. The clatter of dishes ceased, replaced by a heavy silence that draped over the restaurant. It felt suffocating, thick with unspoken words and old wounds. Hunter's mind raced. What was she doing here? Why hadn't she told him? He felt a lump in his throat, the kind that made grown men choke on their courage. The murmurs erupted again, fragmented voices echoed behind him. Didn't they break up years ago? How could she let him see her like this? His body screamed at him to turn away, to escape this surreal nightmare, yet his feet were rooted to the floor. The weight of regret and unresolved history pressed on his chest. And just when he thought he could collect himself, Rachel turned to serve another table, a fleeting glimpse of determination mixed with fear washing over her. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Rachel paused, catching her breath. The way she held herself, a mixture of pride and fragility, it struck him hard. He had so many questions, each one clawing its way to the surface. But what was he supposed to say? Congratulations? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Wherever this was headed, he knew one thing. This night would change everything. What had he walked into? What was the next move? The air buzzed with uncertainty, and it coiled around him, tight as a noose, ready to pull him back into her world. The spell was broken as Rachel retreated into the hustle of the restaurant, her apron flaring out behind her like a flag of retreat. Hunter felt the air shift around him, buzzing with curiosity and judgment. The audience that had once whispered behind his back now turned their attention fully to him. He could feel their eyes hungry for scandal, eager for drama. He grabbed a drink from the bar, downing it in one painful gulp. The burn scorched his throat, but did little to soothe the tumult in his mind. What had happened to her? To them? Memories slammed into him unbidden. Late-night talks, cozy dinners where laughter echoed, and the moment their world fractured. She had walked away, and he had let her go. But now, it seemed she hadn't gone far at all. That he looked around, trying to gather his thoughts as the chaos outside his heart continued to spiral. The clatter of utensils, the crackle of conversation, and the odd sounds of laughter felt like a cruel reminder of what could have been. Yet, in this moment, no other noise resonated as loudly as his own heartbeat. Then, he caught sight of Rachel again, serving a couple at a corner table. Her movements were deft and confident, yet he noticed a slight tremor in her hands. The way she tucked an errant strand of hair behind her ears showed her nervousness. Did she want to avoid him as much as he wanted to confront her? Look at him, murmured a voice from a nearby table. Such a big shot, and look where he ended up frozen by a face from the past. That voice snapped him to attention. He couldn't ignore the reality of this moment anymore. If he was going to make any sense of this, he needed answers. Hunter squared his shoulders, pushing through the obstacles of tables and conversations until he reached Rachel as she collected empty plates. Rachel. He breathed her name like a spell, desperate to break through layers of confusion. She froze, the plates in her hands rattling slightly. She turned, locking eyes with him again. There was a flicker of surprise, then it vanished, replaced by a hard-edged resolve that made him ache. "What are you doing here?" she asked, though the question felt like a shield she pressed between them. The weight of her gaze penetrated him, and he struggled to speak through the tightness in his chest. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were pregnant." An awkward silence stretched between them. It was filled with 1,000 unspoken emotions, the broken communication of their past splitting the air like glass. "Things change, Hunter," she replied finally, her tone steady but laced with pain. "You don't need to worry about me. Why didn't you tell me?" He felt reckless now, bare and exposed. "We had a life together. A family you walked away from." She shot back, her voice set like stone. "You made your choice." A shadow crossed her face, a flash of something he couldn't quite place, and it set his heart racing again. Questions tumbled through his mind. What had she gone through without him? Who was the father of her child? Rage and regret tangled within him. "Is it mine?" He blurted out before he could catch himself. Her eyes widened, and the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. "Let us step outside," Rachel finally said, and he saw a crack in her armor. She moved toward the door, urgency and steel flooding her motions. Hunter followed, heart pounding, wondering what would happen next. What truths awaited them in the cold night air? Would they be able to confront the past that loomed like a dark cloud above them? Or would it pull them back into the storms they both tried so hard to escape? As they stepped outside, the night air hit Hunter like a slap. It was cooler than he had anticipated, and the crispness made the tension in his body feel even sharper. He watched Rachel take a deep breath. It was as if she was steeling herself for what was to come. Her determined facade clashed with the shadows that danced in her eyes. Just tell me," he urged, his voice cracking under the weight of vulnerability. The sounds of the restaurant faded into the background, and it was just the two of them on the sidewalk, surrounded by the dim glow of streetlights. "Why now?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it cut deep. "Why do you care now?" "I never stopped caring." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration and longing blending into a tangible ache. "I thought you moved on. I thought you wanted to leave everything behind. How could I ever forget?" Her eyes glistened, the facade beginning to crumble. "You were my dream, Hunter, and you shattered it. Not just once, but over and over again. You often didn't just walk away from me. You turned your back on the life we built, on our future. And now," she trailed off, glancing at her feet. The weight of her words fell between them like a chasm filled with unhealed wounds. He reached for her hand, but she flinched, retreating further into herself. "When you left, I was lost," she continued, steadying her breath. "I picked up the pieces on my own. And now I'm doing the best I can to raise this child. I can't let you back in, not when you were willing to walk away once." Rachel, he took a hesitant step closer, yearning to bridge the gap. "But what we had, can't we find a way back to that? You have to believe me, I regret it all." Regrets don't change anything, Hunter." She interrupted, fire blazing in her voice. "I didn't plan to raise this child alone. I wish things were different, but life doesn't care about our plans." A shiver ran down his spine as her voice softened. "The father is not you. He is supportive when I needed someone most." The admission hung in the air like a bitter truth. "His presence is a comfort I didn't know I needed, but I can't let you think you have any place in my life anymore." Hunter felt the world tilt. "I just want to be part of this child's life. If there's any chance there isn't," Rachel exclaimed, her voice laced with a mixture of anger and pain. "You don't get to just waltz back in because you feel like it." The silence that followed was deafening. Hunter's mind raced. "What if I want to change? What if I can show you I'm different now?" She shook her head slowly, an act heavy with resignation. "You have no idea what you're asking. You don't know what this means for me, for my life." Her voice trembled, revealing a mix of determination and fear. Yet, there it was again, the flicker. It danced in her gaze, tugging at his heart. What if I told you I'm ready to fight for this? He pressed, his eyes locked on hers, searching for a glimmer of hope, something he could cling to. Rachel looked away, her expression hardening, battling against some unseen tide of emotions. You think you're ready? You think you can just win me back with empty words? All at once, a loud crash startled them. Their heads whipped around as the restaurant's door burst open, a shadowy figure emerging into the light. Rachel, you have to come, the intruder called, panic lacing his voice. Both Rachel and Hunter turned, a wave of dread washing over them. Who was this person? What was happening just inside that restaurant? Rachel's eyes widened, a look of pure shock gripping her, and Hunter's heart raced as he thought. What now? The night was just beginning to unravel their fates, and the chaos had only just begun. Rachel's breath hitched, and in that split second, the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them standing on the cusp of a storm. The figure staggering from the restaurant door resembled a ghost from their past. Hunter couldn't see him clearly, but he could feel the electric shift in Rachel's demeanor, her defenses rising as she instinctively took a step back. Zach, she whispered, the name barely escaping her lips, as if saying it out loud might summon even darker shadows. The figure hurried closer, his face a mask of urgency and alarm. Zach was tall, attractive in that boyish way that made it clear he attracted attention wherever he went. He was the kind of guy who walked into a room, and heads turned, including Rachel's. There's been an incident, Zach gasped, running a trembling hand through his tousled hair. They need you. What happened? Rachel's voice hardened. There was a fight, a serious one. You need to come back inside. Zach pleaded, his eyes darting between Rachel and Hunter, confusion etched across his features. Everyone's on edge. Hunter sensed the tension rising in Rachel. What kind of fight? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady, even as dread pooled in his stomach. What are you getting into, Rachel? I'm not getting into anything, she snapped, stepping forward, her protective instincts flaring. This is my job, my life, then why are you so frightened? Hunter pressed, unable to mask his concern. Because this isn't just a fight, Zach interjected, his voice low and urgent. It's more than that. They mentioned something about money debts. Hunter's heart raced. Debts? Which debts? Are they after you? A flicker of anxiety crossed Rachel's face, and for a moment, Hunter thought she might confide more, but she simply shook her head. We need to go. Before Hunter could react, Rachel grabbed Zach's arm and, without looking back, began to retreat towards the restaurant. Wait, Hunter called, his feet instinctively following them into the restaurant's chaotic atmosphere. The moment he stepped inside, the familiar scent of spilled beer and fried food surged around him, but it felt different today. Today, a palpable tension hung in the air like smoke after a fire. The restaurant's warmth and rustle were abruptly overshadowed by raised voices and a clattering of chairs. His pulse quickened as he glanced around, spotting a few familiar faces from their past dining experiences. Those faces looked shaken, eyes darting nervously toward the back. Stay close, Rachel commanded, tugging at Zach's sleeve. Further inside, they reached a small crowd gathered by the bar. Hunter barely caught snippets of conversation, fear laced with disbelief, punctuated by the occasional shout from a patron. He can't just walk out without paying. We need the money. Money? What is going on? Hunter demanded again, his temper threatening to flare as answers slipped through his fingers. As he moved closer, he caught sight of the source of the uproar. A man, rough around the edges, with tattoos snaking down his arms, stood facing the bartender, fury radiating off him. You think this is a joke? I'm not leaving until I get what I came for. Hunter's instincts kicked and he pushed his way through the crowd. What is happening? He shouted over the din, but he didn't just hear the answer. It crashed over him. This guy owes us. He left without settling his debts. Rachel froze, eyes wide and terrified, and for the first time, Hunter saw the cracks in her bravado. She was swallowed by shadows of the past he had longed to break free from. What do you mean us? Rachel whispered, her voice trembling as fear slipped from her lips. Hunter blinked at her, and then back at the unraveling situation. A connection suddenly shifted in the air around them. No please, but the man turned, and in that moment, the world inside the restaurant seemed to freeze. His penetrating gaze met Rachel's, and a wave of recognition washed over both of them like cold water. Rachel, his voice cut through the chaos, thick with danger. You owe me. It's time to pay up. The weight of the world seemed to crash down on her, and Hunter instinctively stepped in front of her, heart attempting to escape his chest. What kind of danger had Rachel tied herself into? Who are you? He demanded, fists clenching at his sides. Someone you don't want to mess with, the man growled. As a tense silence enveloped them, Hunter felt the air shift. Fate was pulling them into darkness, and something told him this was just the beginning of a fight they never anticipated. What secrets had Rachel buried beneath the surface, and what horrors did the night still hold? Rachel's heart raced as she felt the eyes of the crowd bore into her like 1,000 daggers. The man towering before her had the kind of face that could haunt dreams, sharp, menacing, and all too familiar. She fought against the urge to retreat further behind Hunter, who stood his ground, muscles tense and ready. Pay up? I don't owe you anything, Mark. Rachel shot back, each word laced with defiance. Mark's lips curled into a dangerous smirk. You don't remember, do you? You took something that belongs to me. Now it's time to settle up. A cold chill swept through the restaurant. The chatter hushed to a whisper as the patrons grasped the severity of the confrontation. Hunter glanced backward, noticing Zach's pale face in the crowd, eyes wide with fear. Rachel, he warned, his voice low. Is he telling the truth? No. It's all a misunderstanding. But even as she said it, doubt gnawed at her. Past decisions began to swirl in her mind like a tempest, each one bringing with it the weight of regret. Mark took a step closer, hands tucked into his pockets, the confidence radiating off him palpable. You think this is a joke? You might have run away, but I've been keeping tabs, Mark said, his brows furrowing as he leaned in, voice low and threatening. We don't play games, Rachel. You know that. Hunter's protective instincts surged stronger. What do you want from her? He demanded, stepping boldly forward. Mark's gaze flicked to him, eyes narrowing, sizing up this new player in the game. Stay out of this, pretty boy. She's my business, not yours. This isn't just about you or Rachel. Don't you see that her life is? Hunter's words hung heavy in the air, a bitter thought contrasting against the chaos as he realized Rachel had kept this dark chapter hidden. The mask she wore began to crack. His heart pounded in his chest as whispers of doubt threatened to overwhelm him. Didn't he know how deep her past ran? Move aside, Mark snarled, pushing Hunter roughly. With a rush of adrenaline, Rachel stepped up, determined, her fear morphing into resolve. Get away from him, Mark. You may think you have power here, but this isn't going to end how you want it. Mark laughed, a hard, hollow sound that echoed throughout the tense crowd. You think you can intimidate me? You think I'm scared of you? The atmosphere shifted again, tension crackled, as if static electricity surged through the room, setting everyone on edge. Eyes darted from Rachel to Mark, uncertainty gripping the crowd as murmurs filled the air. Maybe you should be, Hunter interrupted, voice unwavering as he clenched his fists tighter. But Mark's demeanor shifted too. The amusement faded from his eyes as he glared at Hunter. Don't test me. You don't know what I'm capable of. Before anyone could react, a shout cut through the frosty silence. A woman tough-looking with a leather jacket barreled into the fray from the back. Mark, what the hell are you doing? Suddenly, the weight of the confrontation expanded like a balloon ready to burst. All eyes turned on the newcomer. Anticipation crackled in the air. Mark's scowl deepened. Stay out of this, Lila. But Lila stepped forward, jaw locked in defiance. I won't let you bully Rachel. You need to leave. Hunter felt a swell of hope momentarily drown out his confusion. Maybe they wouldn't have to face this nightmare alone. Who do you think you are? Mark shot at Lila, irritation flashing like lightning. Someone who knows that loyalty means something. And you've made a mistake treating Rachel like a pawn in your games. As the tension hung heavy in the air, Rachel caught Hunter's gaze. Confusion and fear swirled in her green depths. I am done with this, she murmured, and Hunter felt the resolve in her words, sharp and fierce. Good, Mark growled, growing impatient. Then let us make this simple. Before anyone could react, he pulled something from his pocket of folded paper, held out like a trap waiting to spring. Sign this, Rachel. Or the debt isn't the only thing you'll lose. The collective breath of the crowd caught in their throats, unease washing over. Every single person in the room. What would Rachel choose? As she stared at the paper, heart racing, Hunter sensed the looming danger. It felt thicker than ever, the stakes rising as fate crested a new wave of peril. What did that paper contain? What would Rachel decide? And could they navigate the storm that was about to descend upon them all? Rachel's pulse thundered in her ears as her eyes darted between the creased paper in Mark's hand and the frightened faces surrounding her. The weight of the moment pressed down like a lead blanket, suffocating. She could feel her own breath hitching in her throat. What is it going to be, Rachel? Mark growled, the menace in his voice simmering to a boil. The crowd held its collective breath, a living entity waiting for her next move. That as she read the paper's vague outlines, dread pooled in her stomach. Was it an ultimatum or a lifeline? Panic crept in, uninvited and persistent. Her fingers trembled as she fought against the urge to snatch it from him and tear it to shreds. Rachel, whatever it is, you don't have to sign, Hunter urged, his voice like a bomb, both firm and filled with concern. We'll figure this out. Mark scoffed, impatience brimming over. Figure what out? She either signs or she faces the consequences. The clock is ticking, sweetheart. Lila stepped closer to Rachel, standing resolute. Don't you dare give in to him. He's not worth the paper he's holding. Rachel felt the warmth of Lila's support, but fear gnawed at her resolve. Mark had a way of twisting things, of making dilemmas feel hopeless. Memories danced stubbornly in her mind, feelings of helplessness and regret. She shook her head, trying to rid herself of the chains he'd left behind. Rachel, Hunter pressed, his voice dropping to a whisper as he took a step closer, shielding her. What did you do? We were friends once. Rachel heard herself say, her voice shaking but defiant. Maybe that's why I never told you. But whatever happened when I was with Mark, it's your past is not a fairy tale, Rachel. Mark interrupted harshly, his grin morphing into a venomous scowl. You owe me, and I want what's mine. This isn't just about you anymore. We have history. Tension erupted like shards of glass shooting from a shattered mirror, and Rachel realized the crowd was caught up in the drama, their emotions a mix of horror and intrigue. She could feel their gazes, pinning her against the wall like arrows. They were desperate for resolution, just like she was. Just sign it, Mark growled. It's not just about your debt. You have no idea what I could lose if you don't. Those words sparked a flicker of rebellion in her gut, something deeper than fear. Her life was no longer just hers. She was entwined with Hunter and Lila, and they were grappling with her past together. Rachel's eyes narrowed, steel-like resolve forming in her chest. Then let us level the playing field. I'll sign, but only if you tell me what exactly I'm signing away. Transparency, Mark. Or this game ends here. The shock in Mark's eyes was palpable, part annoyance, part disbelief. You think I owe you that? I think it's the only option, Rachel countered, heart racing with each moment that passed. You played me, but I'm not going to sit here and let you dictate my life any longer. Mark's expression twisted into a mask of frustration, but beneath it, the glimmer of uncertainty flickered. For the first time, he seemed less in control. The crowd held its breath, anticipation heavy in the air. Lila's steady presence behind her steadied Rachel as she took another step away from Mark, forming a barrier around her. Rachel, Hunter began, his worry seeping through. I'm tired of living in shadows, Hunter, she said firmly. This ends now. Just when she thought momentum was finally shifting, Mark raised the folded paper, promising havoc. You don't get to dictate the terms, Rachel. But you'll wish you did once you find out what I'm capable of. Hunter tightened his fists, readying for the confrontation that seemed inevitable. Let us see what you really have. Then, he challenged, moving even closer to Rachel. The room vibrated with unspoken energy, the stakes rising higher with each breath. Rachel's breath caught as Mark leaned in closer, a menacing smile creeping back. You'll regret this, Rachel. Before she could respond, a loud crash shattered the tension as a server stumbled, sending plates and glasses flying. The sudden noise broke the standoff, shifting all eyes momentarily. Take cover. Someone yelled from the back, as chaos erupted around them. Rachel's heart raced faster. Was this the opening they needed to escape, or was it just the beginning of something much more dangerous? With uncertainty rippling through the air, the question lingered: how far would Mark go to make her pay? And would they make it out of the storm he had conjured together? Panic washed through the room like an unwelcome tide. People scattered, screams cutting the air like a knife. Plates crashed to the ground, shards littering the floor, glinting under the low light. Rachel's heart pounded against her ribcage, fear intertwining with adrenaline as she grasped Hunter's arm. "Stay close," he shouted over the chaos, glancing over his shoulder for Mark, who had retreated into the shadows like a snake, his expression darkening with rage. Rachel scanned the room, searching for Lila, who was dodging around tables. A frantic pulse of worry surged through her. She couldn't lose her friend in the mess. Clenching her jaw, she pushed through the crowd, pulling Hunter along. "Where's Lila?" Rachel cried out, anxiety climbing. The din made it hard to hear anything other than the shouts and the crash of falling furniture. "Over here." Lila's voice emerged, piercing through the noise. She waved from a nearby table, crouching low. Relief flooded through Rachel as she caught her friend's eye, motioning for Hunter to follow her toward Lila. Suddenly, a loud thud reverberated from behind them. Mark had reemerged, fury etched in his features. He grabbed a nearby chair and hurled it with a feral shout, narrowly missing a patron who ducked just in time. The crowd shrieked, fear rippling through like wildfire. "Get down," Rachel shouted, instinctively pulling Lila close as they ducked behind a table. Hunter glanced around wildly. "We can't stay here. That lunatic will tear this place apart. Then we need a plan." Rachel snapped, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her mind raced. Mark was unpredictable, and he thrived on chaos. What is he capable of? If he wants to ruin my life, he won't stop just here. A flicker of realization crossed Hunter's face. "You said you owed him. What if it's something bigger than money?" What if his voice trailed off, and Rachel felt a chill shoot down her spine? "What if what?" Lila asked, urgency gathering in her tone. "What if he has something on you?" Hunter's gaze locked on Rachel, his expression shifting from concern to a deeper fear. "Something that could destroy you?" Rachel swallowed hard. Memories rushed back, hazy but vivid. They had shared secrets, things she thought were long buried. "He wants to control me, but why now?" A loud crash rang out again, and they all flinched. Mark was advancing through the chaos, his eyes wild, searching for her. "You can't run, Rachel," he yelled, laughter edging out the corners of his fury. "You made this mess. Now you have to clean it up. Now or never," Lila whispered, her hand on Rachel's shoulder. "We need to get out before he can touch you." "Let us go," Rachel urged, her resolve hardening. They slipped from behind the table, moving low and fast. As they reached the exit, Rachel glanced back. Mark was weaving through the crowd, like a predator on the hunt. His eyes landed on her, and their gazes clashed, a storm of anger and betrayal spiraling between them. "Run!" she screamed as they burst through the doors into the cool night air, the chaos following close behind. Heart pounding, they raced down the street, the clamor of the restaurant trailing off into the distance. "Where do we go now?" Hunter asked, breathing heavily, their retreating footsteps echoing. Rachel paused, fear creeping back in as panic morphed into realization. "I need to know what he knows. I can't leave it like this. I can't let him win." The weight of her past conspired against her, clawing at her mind like ethereal tendrils drawing her back into darkness. "Rachel, are you serious? You want to confront him?" Lila's eyes widened. "Not just confront, I have to take back control. Whatever he thinks he can use against me, I'm not letting it happen." But as resolve burned in Rachel's chest, a shadow flickered in the corner of her vision. A figure emerged from the fog, lurking just out of reach, watching them. Was it Mark? Or something worse? As uncertainty loomed, Rachel felt the swell of dread building again. Would she have to face more than just Mark to reclaim her life? What other secrets from her past awaited her return? And were they prepared for what lay ahead? The chill in the air hung thick, wrapping around Rachel like a suffocating cloak. The shadowy figure took a step forward, and Rachel's breath hitched in her throat. Adrenaline surged again as she fought the urge to turn and flee. She couldn't lose control now, not after everything she'd just escaped. "Rachel," Lila whispered, her voice laced with panic. "What if it's him?" Rachel squinted through the swirling fog. As the figure drew closer, recognition slammed into her like a freight train. It was Arya, someone from her past who had too many ties to Mark. The last time she'd seen Arya, they parted ways with a bitter taste of betrayal still lingering. "What do you want?" Rachel demanded, every ounce of her fear coiling tightly into fibers of defiance. Rachel, I didn't mean to scare you. I heard the commotion inside, Arya stammered, her eyes darting between Rachel and Lila, confusion mixed with concern. But it's not safe here, you need to come with me. Why should we trust you? Hunter interjected, stepping protectively in front of Rachel, his tense posture a clear warning. Arya shook her head urgently. Because if Mark finds you at 1T end well. Please, we can't talk here. Rachel's gut twisted. Could she really trust Arya? In a matter of seconds, the fog in her mind shifted, and she found herself weighing the possibility of salvation against betrayal. All right, she said cautiously, but you lead the way, and we're staying together. The three of them followed Arya through dimly lit alleyways, the distant sounds of the restaurant fading into an eerie silence. The shadows danced around them, and with every step, Rachel's heart raced with anxiety. She felt the weight of her secrets pressing down on her, threatening to resurface at any moment. What else lay hidden in the veils of her past? Where are you taking us? Lila pressed, glancing around as if expecting danger to leap from the darkness. To a safe house, my old place. It's not far, Arya replied, her voice laced with urgency. Mark can't know you're out here. He is searching for you, Rachel. He knows something. Rachel inhaled sharply. What does he know? About the baby. Arya turned to her, eyes wide and pleading. He knows about your child, Rachel. You have to understand, it's not just about you anymore. The revelation sent ice coursing through Rachel's veins. Everything clicked. Mark wasn't just trying to ruin her life. He had plans, and those plans involved her unborn child. Panic surged again, overwhelming and thick. Why now? Rachel gasped. Why the threats? Because you owe him, Arya replied, lowering her voice. You're part of a bigger game than you realize. He won't stop until he gets what he wants. They slipped into a narrow doorway, Arya leading them into a small, cluttered room that felt more like a tomb than a refuge. The walls were dark, its atmosphere claustrophobic and stifling. No matter how hard Rachel tried to focus, her thoughts spiraled out of control. How was she going to protect her child from Mark's wrath? What strings was he pulling that she still couldn't see? Stay close, and don't make any noise, Arya whispered, as Rachel watched her pace the small space, her demeanor shifting from frantic to calculating. Rachel felt the weight of their impending decisions pressing down on her, like a dam just waiting to burst. We need to face him, Rachel insisted, determination flooding through her again. I can't let him dictate my life or the life of my child. Rachel, listen, Lila interjected, her voice trembling. We should consider our options. We can't just walk into this blindly. Mark is dangerous. I know. Rachel snapped, her frustration boiling over. But if I don't act now, I'll lose everything. The past can't come back to haunt me. Not again. As the tension crackled in the air, Rachel felt something shift inside her, a readiness to reclaim what was hers, despite the shadows lurking in the corners. And somewhere, in the depths of the city, Mark was plotting his next move, his fury building with each passing second. What would be his next attack on Rachel? As those thoughts raced through her mind, Rachel felt a sudden urge to confront her fate head-on. But with her past and future dangling precariously in the balance, was she prepared for the storm that was looming on the horizon? For all she knew, the worst was yet to come. Arya paused, eyes scanning the dim room, as if expecting danger to breach their sanctuary. The silence was thick, almost suffocating. Rachel felt beads of sweat slide down her spine, every instinct screaming at her to run. But where? There was nowhere left to go. Listen, I know you're scared, Arya began, her voice shaking slightly. But I'm not your enemy. I came here to help you. We have to put aside the past for now. Focus on what matters, your safety, and that of your baby. The mention of her child sent a jolt of electricity through Rachel. All those maternal instincts surged forth, igniting her resolve. Why should I believe you? Rachel challenged, meeting Arya's gaze with a fierce determination. You were close to Mark once. How do I know you Haven T brought him straight to us? I'm here because I want to keep you safe from him, Arya insisted, her desperation laid bare. You have to understand how twisted he can be. This isn't just run-of-the-mill revenge, it's a sick obsession. Hunter stepped closer, fists clenched. You talk like you know him personally. What makes you think this isn't a setup? Arya looked at him, eyes wide with distress. I know Mark better than you think. He's ruthless. He'll use whatever leverage he can to get what he wants. And right now, that's you and your baby. Rachel glanced at Lila, whose face mirrored her own uncertainty. They were in too deep. But could she gamble on Arya? What does he want? Rachel pressed, heart pounding. Control. He thrives on power. He wants you back under his thumb, Arya replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I helped you get away last time, and I can help you now. But you have to trust me. A flicker of doubt crossed Rachel's mind, but she pushed it down. If we're going to do this, we need a plan. We can't confront him without knowing where he is. I know where he is, Arya said, her eyes shifting toward the door. I overheard something. He's meeting with someone in an hour at a bar downtown. It's just the two of them. Then we can ambush him, Rachel asserted, adrenaline surging through her as she began strategizing. If he's going to be alone, we can stake it out and confront him together. No, Lila gasped, horror evident in her expression. That's too dangerous. We'd be walking into a trap. Rachel felt like a rubber band stretched to its limit. The tension between her friends, the weight of her past, and the overwhelming need to protect her child all collided in one chaotic moment. I'm not losing my child. Not to him. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, shattering the silence. The sound of footsteps pounded against the pavement, growing louder by the second. Rachel's heart raced. What was that? Shoo! Arya hissed, urgency etched on her face. We need to hide. If Mark is looking for you, just as the words left her mouth, the door burst open. A figure slipped into the room, silhouetted against the faint light streaming from the street. Rachel's breath hitched in her throat again, fear gripping her gut like a vice. She couldn't see who it was, but a cold chill shot through her veins. Stay back, Hunter boomed, stepping protectively in front of Rachel. The tension was palpable, thick as molasses, and Rachel held her breath, anxiety clawing at her as the figure stepped into the room. The moment hung suspended, a delicate balance between safety and danger. The figure's face appeared, and Rachel's blood ran cold. This was not Mark, but it was someone she recognized just as well. Rachel, the newcomer, spoke, voice rough and taut with emotion. We need to talk. The voice sent a wave of shock crashing over Rachel, a tidal wave of memories crashing in. This was someone she never expected to see again. Someone who could either be her salvation or her damnation. But could she risk it? Would this person spell the end of everything she fought for? As a tense silence filled the room, Rachel felt the impending dread wrap around her, a ghost of unanswered questions. Was this a chance to finally confront her haunting past? Or the beginning of an even darker nightmare? Jake? Rachel's voice trembled, a whisper pulled from the depths of memory. The man before her, rugged and scarred by life's unanswered trials, regarded her with a mixture of resolve and trepidation. Yeah, Jake said, his gaze searching, scanning the room, looking for threats, but finding only the threads connecting all of them, their history. Cannonballs of past regrets hanging thickly in the air. I know this isn't the reunion you wanted. No, it isn't, Rachel shot back, her defenses flaring. But deep down, she felt a rush of old feelings, safety, familiarity, and the remnants of trust. What are you doing here? I saw the fight at the restaurant. Marcus looking for you. He's not giving up. He knows something, and he'll use it against you. Jake pressed, urgency dripping from his every word. Rachel's breath came quick, realization pounding like thunder. I need to protect my child. He can't come near us. He doesn't have to, Jake replied, stepping into the dim light, tension simmering around them. But you need someone who knows how he operates. You can't face him blindly. Are you offering to help? Rachel asked, skepticism shading her tone. After everything? Yeah, Jake said, his voice steady, eyes earnest. I owe you that much. We were friends once, remember? She studied him. Scars on his face told stories of struggles, redemption, a life lived out loud. There was something raw and real about his presence that sparked a flicker of hope in her. But past pain still lingered, tainting every thought. Rachel, Lila interrupted softly, her hand resting on Rachel's arm, grounding her to the present. I don't trust him. Rachel turned, searching her friend's eyes. He's right, Lila. I can't do this alone. I need all the help I can get. Hunter stepped forward, nostrils flared, protective instincts on full alert. I'm not sure trusting him is the best move, Rachel. Trust is a luxury we don't have. Jake's expression hardened, yet empathy lurked beneath his tough exterior. This is about more than just you now. Inside her, unease battled against the budding courage. Rachel needed the support and information to fight back. But could she really trust him again? Just tell me what to do, Rachel whispered, suddenly weary of hiding behind walls built of doubt. Let us formulate a plan. We know Mark will come looking for you. Jake began, his confidence filtering through the air like a lifeline. We can set up a trap. We need to bait him, draw him out, put him on the defensive, and before he knows it, we'll have him where we want. Rachel felt the pulse of adrenaline racing through her veins. It was intoxicating. I'm ready, Jake. Let us do this. Outside, night clung to the city, dark and heavy as if it were a sentient being conspiring against them. But determination surged within Rachel, threading through her thoughts like a lifeline. This was her chance, a shot at reclaiming her life. As they delved deeper into strategy, Lila retrieved her phone, texting quickly. We need to call in reinforcements, people who can help. Rachel watched her friend and felt gratitude boiling in her heart. Thank you, Lila. Time sped on, details flying by, plotting their every move against Mark. Plans took shape, and Rachel felt the life within her growing stronger with each passing moment. She wouldn't let Mark snuff it out without a fight. The door began to creak, and every tense muscle in the room froze. All eyes snapped to the entrance as Zach, pale and breathless, stepped in. Rachel, they're coming. Panic sliced through the air. Who's coming? Hunter barked, bracing himself, and Rachel's heart sank, dread knotting in her gut. Zach shook from head to toe. It's Mark's crew. They know you're with Jake. Not good, Jake said, eyes narrowing. Not good at all. Rachel's mind raced. They couldn't allow a confrontation without a plan, without position. Out the back now, Hunter shouted, rallying them forward. Move. Adrenaline propelled them into action as they poured through the back door into the narrow alley, cold air biting at their skin. Where to? Lila asked, breathless. Follow me. There's a utility entrance off the adjacent street. Jake led the way, urgency fueling his every step. The stakes were far too high, too near to their reality. The alley merged with the street, and they turned sharply, leading Rachel's heart into a frantic burst. Each echoing footstep behind them was a crescendo of danger, pushing against the thin fabric of hope they wove. Split up, Rachel commanded suddenly, a fierce spark igniting within her. Lila, you and Zach go left. Jake, we swing down to the right. You'll be exposed. Hunter hissed, desperate conviction coursing through him. There's no time. I can't be a target better if we're scattered. Rachel dove into the narrow space with Jake, feet pounding on the pavement as they pressed ahead. Heart racing, she focused on each heartbeat, drowning out squeezing panic. As they turned onto Intersection Avenue, Rachel stole a glance over her shoulder, eyes fierce. If they do find us the moment Mark gets close, I'll draw his attention. Jake gripped her shoulder with firm assurance. Just as they neared an entrance to an unlit alley, chaos erupted behind them. The air quality shifted, erupting into shouting and angry shouts. Rachel, we know you're here. Mark's voice sliced through darkness, branding fear into Rachel's chest. Her pulse thundered. Run, she yelled. But as they dashed into the shadows, survival rang clear and pure through her mind. Their truths would surge forward, past shadows and fears alike. They would face this turmoil together. Nothing would hold her back. She refused to lose. She would fight for her child, for herself, revealing layers of courage long buried. With one final push into obscurity, Rachel felt the past ignite into something brilliant, a fierce glow of hope. She inhaled deeply, prepared to face whatever lay ahead. They had the night, and with it, the power to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. Rachel steeled herself against the encroaching chaos, preparing to confront her past, determined to change the future. And so, they moved as a unit into the shadows, ready to face the storm awaiting them, the inevitable confrontation that would determine everything. But just as they slipped into the dark, a flicker caught her eye, a promise, perhaps, lighting the path ahead. Whatever happened next, she would not hide nor back down again. Strength surged through her veins. Tonight, they would fight back. And in that moment, she finally felt in control. Everyone had their breaking point. This would lead them to their reckoning. The end of the past, and the beginning of something new awaited just beyond the horizon, ready to unveil the truth buried in their tangled fates. Now, it was time to reclaim her future. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Let us keep this story rolling.